When I was in my 20s, it felt like I was a part of something special. I was participating in an awakening. The world was changing, consciousness was shifting, the hidden hand was finally being exposed, and all secrets were being revealed. Right? Remember that big day in September 2001 that changed the whole world? That happened. And for the next decade and a half, people all over the world began to question the events of that day. And then major events in general. It was the beginning of an uprising, a revolution, right? Something else emerged during that same time period: social media. Now, social media has its upsides and its downsides. In my opinion, mostly upsides, but the downsides have some serious ramifications, particularly on our communication. Social media is awesome in that it brings us together, but it also tears us apart. By 2001, almost everyone was online and connected to the internet, but it was still in its infancy, and it definitely was nothing like it is now. The iPhone didn't exist, there was no Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Even MySpace wasn't around yet. We had access to the internet, the World Wide Web, but we had no idea what we were in store for. And as the internet grew, so did our ability to share information. Alternative perspectives, counter narratives, and became more accessible. For the first time in history, official stories were being challenged in real time with evidence to support claims. I was a senior in high school when that big event in September took place, and I was dubious from the beginning, from the moment it happened. Not because but because I didn't like George Bush. I was a true blue Democrat. My parents raised me to be a Democrat, and so I naturally hated George Bush, so I was skeptical of everything he did, everything he could do as a result of what happened on that day. And even though I felt that there was something off about what I was experiencing on that day, something just didn't check out about the whole story in general, I had no way to scratch the itch. I didn't know that the internet could be a place where you could go and scratch that sort of itch. All I had was my intuition, a feeling about it. So fast forward about 3 years, and my friends and I somehow stumbled upon videos that, countered the official story about that day and had some alternative theories. And it was exactly what I had been waiting for. It was exciting, and I decided to just go all in. And for the next several years, that was what the internet was for, to me, was just to explore. I figured if we were lied to about that day, chances are we'd been lied to about pretty much everything. So I just luged down the rabbit hole and wanted to find an explanation or another perspective on pretty much everything I'd already been taught. YouTube hit the scene in 2005, and I only watched videos that pertained to that kind of content. Blew up online, and a truth movement had begun. And the masses were on the verge of waking up en masse. Right? Fast forward to 2024. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news, and it's very good news, is more people are questioning things than ever. And distrust in pretty much anything mainstream is at an all-time high. The bad news, though, is that societal division is worse than it's ever been. In my lifetime, anyway. It's hard to even call it a division, because division implies a split into two halves. I believe this is a direct result of social media and the rise of thumb-typed communication. These days, most people prefer texting, emailing, or commenting to direct human connection, which is ironic because we all yearn for real human interaction, but most of us have patterned ourselves to shy away from it. And look, I get it. Confrontation is not always easy. In fact, it's very rarely easy, and it's definitely not fun. But confrontation is essential to effective communication. And a lot of people confuse confrontation with conflict, but in reality, confrontation usually helps to solve conflicts. But since confrontation is uncomfortable, people now have the easy out of typing instead of talking. Typed communication lacks empathy. It's indirect, it's impersonal. It's both a barrier and a shield. People say things online they would never say out loud. They rip each other apart over the slightest differences of opinion and then write each other off forever. Many people online, particularly YouTube commenters, no offense, hide behind avatars and pseudonyms so they can say whatever they want with no accountability. Basically, everyone has free reign to be a total a-hole online with zero repercussions. But worst of all, no one is actually listening to each other. This is what I mean by division. We haven't just been divided, we have been fractalized into oblivion. And this one might ruffle some feathers, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The awake crowd is just as insufferable as the woke one. Change my mind. Mean-spirited mudslinging and public shaming are the norm. Checking the timeline on Facebook, for instance, has become a disheartening experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not like missing the days of yore when it comes to Facebook, but I have seen it devolve into just an ugly place. Every day, it's exactly the same. It's a melange of proselytizing, bickering, and judging others. The sentiment is, my way or the highway. I'm right and you're wrong, and not only are you wrong, but you're also a stupid idiot. Many alternative-minded people have fallen into the same trap as the sheep they condemn. Arrogant allegiance to ideas, beliefs, and opinions. And I remember back in the mid to late 2010s, the trivia method making a comeback, otherwise known as critical thinking or how to think critically, grammar, logic, rhetoric, in that order. More often than not, online communication is simply rhetoric without the grammar and logic to back it up. Sweeping generalizations abound. Accusations, declarations, proclamations, and polarizing opinions disguised as facts. But opinions are not facts, and you are not your opinions. A great many people think they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their prejudices. Social media algorithms are designed to keep you in a feedback loop. A lot of people use their typed voice online to speak the truth, but they're preaching to the choir inside of an echo chamber. Now, don't get me wrong, there is camaraderie found in this, which is good, but the likelihood of your angry posts on Facebook actually reaching the person you want to reach, and not only that, but actually changing their minds because of what you're saying, oh man, it's not going to happen. People think that the louder they are, the more impact what they're saying will have, and that really couldn't be further from the truth. Anger alone is a weak emotion for personal expression. When anger sparks an idea, and that idea is built upon with clarity and care, the expression of that idea has the power to shift someone's perspective and change their mind. Essentially, when you let anger transmute into something more interesting, it can become effective. Most of my creative output, my poems and my comedy videos, started from an angry place, but anger is nowhere to be found in the final product. Now, there are exceptions to every rule. Some people can get away with leaning on anger to express themselves, and it works, but it's rare. It really just depends on the person and if they're authentic. And usually anger will work with a crowd who's already in agreement with what you're saying. It fires them up. Some people think I'm too soft in my approach, which is fine. You're welcome to think whatever you want. But I have learned from personal experience that when I'm angry and I convey a point, people don't listen. But when I try a more nuanced approach, it actually can work. I have learned that speaking the truth bluntly and forcefully and aggressively and passionately is a fool's errand. People do not want to hear it, no matter how right or how passionate you are. The better approach is to use anger like clay and sculpt it into something else. I definitely leaned on anger in my 20s. When I was first going through this process of questioning everything, I was very young. And naturally, when you first start to realize that things aren't what they seem, it's a matter of life or death. And you want to let people know how important it is to understand these ideas and how important it is to realize that they've been lied to about things. So you end up being very aggressive. And I was humbled several times when I realized not only was I not helping anything, but I was actually creating more distance between the person I was trying to talk to and the idea I wanted them to understand. I'm committed to truth and helping others find it for themselves. But that's the key, helping them find it for themselves. So for the next 15 years, I worked on improving my communication, and I developed an approach that actually works. And now I've taught that same method to hundreds of people through my program Parrhesia, The Art of Communication, which I'm now calling Freer Speech because Parrhesia is too obscure of a word. But if you missed out on it when I was doing it live, you can still get it. Click the link below to access the course, and trust me, it will help you with your communication. So I know how agonizing it can be to witness friends and family and society at large fall into what you perceive to be as traps. What's painfully obvious to you is absolutely ridiculous and preposterous to them. And no matter how much you try to convince them otherwise, they not only don't listen, they will double down on their commitment to that trap. People aren't logical. They're emotional, and they operate out of fear, comfort, and ego. There is no truth movement. There never was. There is only your journey to discovering what the truth is. Shift from collective to individual responsibility, and others will follow your lead. You are the truth movement. Pick your lane and choose your battles wisely. Worry less about the world and people's opinions. Concern yourself with what you're capable of, challenge your comfort zone, and focus your efforts on how you can help. Because the truth is, the most exciting rabbit hole is you. Next month, April, I'm offering a 4-week sprint version of my program, The Self-Reliant Way. Enrollment just opened. I want you involved. If you've been curious or interested in the program before, now is your chance. It's going to be intense. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be life-changing. All the need-to-know information is in the link below. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.